Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Dean Rogers. Welcome back to the Dean Rogers Show. Today, we've got a spectacular guest, Mr. Corey Peterson. What's up, Corey?
What's up, Dean? I'm so excited to be here, my friend.
Dude, I'm stoked you're here too. The big Kahuna in the house himself. For those of you that don't know Corey, he went from used car salesman to real estate millionaire. He's got $230 million of assets under management. He's raised $95 million of private money, not from just a couple people, but from, he said, an army of people. He's the realist in real estate. He's speaker, author, and full-time dad. I can't wait to get into that. That's incredible. So the listeners would love to hear more about that. You can follow Corey on social media at Kahuna Cashflow. Kahuna Cashflow on social media. And you got a free book giveaway, dude, which is cool. Let's let the listeners know about that real quick.
Yeah, so my book's called Copy Your Way to Success, Standing on the Shoulders of Giants. And I was never that smart of a kid growing up, but I was a really good copier. And I learned that that's the success in life, that you don't have to invent the wheel. You just have to be able to copy it. And so you can get that book for free. Text the word book, BOOK, to 480-500-1127.
Let's say that one more time. 480
500 1127.
1127.
Text the word book.
Book. All right. Awesome. We'll make sure to mention that at the end, guys, too, just in case you miss it. But that's awesome, man. I love that message too. I live the same way. Like, I don't like to try to pretend I'm the smartest guy. I just see others' success, how they're doing it, take action on it. And what do you know? Others that have had success probably will work for you too. You know,
there's a lot of clues. You can pick up a lot of crumbs, my friend, and it usually works.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, so let's dive in your story, man. I mean, we were just barely touching on it at the beginning. I've been watching you over the years, and we finally got to meet each other, which was an awesome experience. So good to meet you in person. And like you said, like, one of the things that you look for in other people is people who are just authentic, and that's you, man. So you're the kind of guy that I just want to give a hug. Like, you're a big teddy bear. And someone I can have a good time with. So let's just kick it off, dive into about your story, and then let's get into some nuggets after that.
Yeah, great. So I'll just give you the quick version of it. But so I started off as a used car salesman, but really it's about 22 years ago. That's when my life changed forever. Is my wife was married, or my mom was married to a man named Bruce. I call him Bruce Wayne. Okay, he wasn't Batman, but Dean, he had a lot of money. And so he had a house in Hawaii, and my mom invited me and my girlfriend, now wife of 20 years,
wow,
to go to Hawaii for the first time. So we go there. He's got a house right on the beach, man, in Kauai, the Garden Island, which is an amazing island. Mm-hmm. And I was just blown away because I'd never seen, like, I've seen wealth, but not that kind of wealth. Bruce had time and money, both. Mm. And so I was like, what do you do? And then he said the magic words. He said he was in real estate and that he owned apartments. Mm. And so I wish the story got a lot better from there. Bruce was a grumpy old man. He wasn't going to teach me real estate. But I left that island thinking that he was the big kahuna. And so then I read the little purple book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I was like, oh my God, that's Bruce. That's what he did. And so in 2005, I was done reading all the books that I could read. It was time to take some action. And I was like, what do I name my company? And I called it Kahuna Investments. And from there, I started off as a wholesaler, right? Like, you look at yourself and say, what do I have? I'm like, I ain't got no money. I got a lot of will. And so I'd go to RIAs, and I would find investors that had dough. And I would sit right next to them and be like, where do you like to buy? What does your rehab look like? You know, if I found a deal like that, would you pay me $3,000 to wholesale it to you? And yeah, they would. I'm like, great. And then I'd call my buddy that was a realtor. I'm like, dude, I'm not a realtor, but I need your MLS access. Mm-hmm. Right. So I've always been resourceful that way. Love and that. I started getting into real estate. I started wholesale. So I was in the game of real estate. And then something magical happened, which was the private money piece. Now, when the market, this was like 2006, 2007, but then the market crashed, 2009, right? Market crash. And at that point, I'm really starting to do a lot of wholesaling, but I really want to make the real money because these guys are making 30 grand a flip, selling, doing the actual work, but they got money. And I raised my first piece of private money totally by accident. And I was just asking a guy that I played racquetball with. He was a retired guy and lived in a retirement community here in Arizona. I was like, surely you know someone in that retirement community that wants to get their money working a little harder. And he's like, well, I'll see what I can do. And that was that. Well, the next day, this guy, his name's Carl. Carl calls me, say, Corey, because I didn't think Carl had any money, by the way, right? He calls me, he's like, hey, Corey, you still want to do that 12%? And I was like, man, Carl found somebody. He goes, Corey, you don't know this. My home's totally paid for. I can borrow money at 3%. You give me 12, I can make a spread. How much money do you need? Well, that was like a loaded question, right, Dean? You're like,
yeah, right.
I got no money for the payments, can't the rehab, right? I was like, I need it all. So Carl, I need like $85,000. And there was like a slight pause. And he's like, yeah. All right, yeah. Where do you want me to send it? Whoa, my jaw dropped. And, I was like, whoa, hold on. Let me call the title company, figure out how this works. But I will equate that moment, Dean, to going into the telephone booth as Clark Kent. And I spun around that thing. I was like Superman, dude. I raised private money. Oh, man. And Dean, it was like the scales of life fell off me and I could see again for the first time. And I'm like, I can't be the only one raising money. There's got to be someone I can copy from. Sure enough, I look around. There's lots of it. And they're like, oh, you got to have a credibility kit. You need to have a private money lending program. So I started to get smart. And next thing, by the next year, I had about $3 million of private money, OPM, doing single family fix and flips.
Wow.
So that now, I'm not even going to the apartment side, but the story's laced with a lot of good and bad and crazy, right?
Of course.
So this is how I got into apartments. Is Dean, I told you at the beginning of the show, you said full-time dad. Like I'm very proud of that. But there was a moment when I almost really screwed up. And this will be the pain story. And I want everybody to feel this for a minute. Because for me to tell a story, I have to go there and it's hard. Right? But like you get in the world's eyes at that point in my life, I'm flipping probably 6 to 7 homes a month. But I'm doing it all myself, Dean. And I'm tied to this dumbass phone 24/7. And I'm finding the deals. I'm managing my projects. And my son's like, hey, Dad, you going to go to my game on Saturday, soccer game? Yes, I'll be there. I'm like, game's at 3:00. I'm like, oh, God, I got to go look at these 3 properties, though, in the morning. So I'm going to hurry and run in the morning, and I'll get to the game on time. And you know how it goes when you start doing this shell game. Oh, I've become the parts runners from Lowe's for all these properties. I show up at the end of the game. And then what happened next, dude, I can only tell you, man, this is – so I get to the property, and my son comes off, and, dude, he's crying. Dad said, Dad, you promised. And it's hard to even go there because I'm telling you, I put my son's head in my chest, and he's like – I mean, like that deep cry that, like, I hurt him.
Yeah. Wow.
And it hurt me because I was like, I wanted to be a full-time dad, but here I'm at this point where I'm like, what in the hell? And I'm just holding them, and I'm just like, I'm so sorry, right? Now, kids are resilient, dude. And basically wants to jump in my truck and me to take him home, which makes it worse because then he's in the side the whole time, man. And I'm just going, oh, my gosh. Why did I do this? Why did I think I needed to go look at these properties? I drop them off, and my wife looks at me. She gives me that stare, like, you screwing up, boy, right? So I get in my car, and I drive, and I start, I'm telling you, I unleash on myself. You are a son of a bitch. Just saying every curse word, and I'm cursing at myself. And I finally break down, and I put up my hands to God and say, God, forgive me, right? That's not who I wanted to be. And I'm telling you, when I was empty and it was all out, God just has a way, man. And he's like, look over here. And I drive by this apartment complex, and I've driven by that apartment complex a million times, Dean. And I used to say, I wish I could own one. And in that broken, empty state, I said, how can I own an apartment? And as soon as I said and framed the words right, my brain started working. And I flashed back to Bruce. And I was like, Bruce had time and money. And I knew that apartments was the answer. I flipped to UE, went to Barnes and Nobles, bought all the books on real estate, found a mentor, Dave Lindahl, read his book, Multifamily Millions. And within a year later, I had bought my first multifamily apartment for $3.2 million. I raised $1.4 million of private equity to do the deal, held that property for 5 years, sold it for $8.8 million.
Jeez.
And I've been living the cash flow life since, my friend.
That's amazing.
And so now I do have those two things, which is time and money. I learned a lot of things along the way.
Thanks for getting vulnerable there, man. I know personally, myself having 4 kids now, like, you're doing this all for them, right? You're doing it for the family. But in the reality is like, you're doing it for them, but you're also doing it for yourself. Like, you're doing it to like, you're doing it to build your ego. You're doing it to build the bank account. You're doing it to feel and be accomplished. It started with good intention. It starts with good intention. You want to provide a better life for you and your family. And I think when you can get honest and real about that, like these are all, I'm literally saying it because these are all things I've been reflecting on myself. And it's like, how can I create a better life? How can I be more present for my family?
Dean, do you think kids give 2 craps about how much you make? They do not trade in that currency. The only currency they trade in is time. Time is their currency.
Yep.
And you will know if you're giving it or not. They'll let you know. And once you realize that, you really start thinking about life much differently. And that was a radical change for me. I'm telling you, that one hurt me hard and made me look at myself and say, there's some things that I got to change. And I changed them quickly because I did not want to do that anymore. Right. And we could talk about time management and, some other things, but, you start learning these lessons, and these are scars that you carry for the rest of your life now. Right. Mm-hmm. And, the goal is to have both, right? We all want to have time, but, or money, but really we forget the other thing is just as valuable, probably more valuable, which is time to do some things. And, so the commercial real estate for that has figured that out for me now. And I really am much more in control of my time than ever.
Yeah. That's what we all are striving for, but whether we're actually living that out is a whole nother thing. So let's talk about that. How did you reverse engineer things? So you had apartments, right? You connected the dots there. This was going to be the vehicle, but then how do you create the schedule? How do you make life work for you?
Yeah. And this is what's crazy. You said the key word schedule. This is how easy and simple it is, right? You just got to start saying things like this. On my phone, they have a do not disturb button on your iPhone, by the way, and you can program it, right? Mine at 5 o'clock does not ring unless you're my favorites.
Right.
And the only people that are my favorites are my family and my real close friends. That's it. Everybody else going to voicemail. Right. It doesn't even ring that way. So it's great. Don't even get a notification. That's step 1, right? Get that phone. That's the biggest distractor. Next, time block. Dean, I go and I put my vacations. Now, when you first start, you may not be like this, but as you start making wealth, you start learning to plan your calendar, right? I plan my vacations. As soon as I get to my kids' sports events, their games, or if they're practices that I'm going to be involved in, it goes on my calendar. Right.
Yep.
And all these, and like for me, I take Fridays off. I block out my calendar from, I wake up at 5, I go to the gym at 6. I don't start my day till 9. No one can touch my calendar till 9 o'clock. I give myself an hour lunch. Blocks out. No one can block my lunch. I want that time for myself. At 4 o'clock, my day stops, right? No one can book and make an appointment for Corey after 4. On Friday, it's fully blocked out, right? Don't work Fridays. Friday's my free day. If I want to, I can. But you can do that almost immediately, and you'll be amazed. So this is once you put all that stuff up front and you calendar it, then you make your business fit in the cracks. And Dean, it is like the best thing in the world, because all of a sudden you're like living your dream. And most of us, if we're really honest with ourselves, we could do it right now.
Isn't that crazy? Like humans adapt, right? Humans adapt. And if you have a certain amount of time to get something done, and it's a lot of time, you're going to use all that time. If you got a little bit of time, well, you're going to try to do everything you can.
You just do it faster and better. You're more efficient, right?
Yeah.
Always.
And so I love that too. I started doing the same thing once I got my kids into sports this past year, is going in, scheduling every single game, scheduling every single practice, and I intentionally am coaching in their sports because I want to make sure. There you go.
So I was my kid's coach. So I had that excellence, but the next year I coached my daughter's soccer 4 years in a row until there was a level that I shouldn't have been their coach anymore. Right.
Yeah.
Same thing with my son, football, practice, till there was a level that dad should have been the coach. Right.
Yep.
And so I did get to make up for it. And that was really important for me as well, is that I wanted I look back, I say my greatest achievement is that I was a full-time dad, but I had to get that little lesson real early. Thankfully I got it early, right? Before damage had really been done. Yeah. Right. And so I'm very thankful of that. But because one of your biggest measures, I mean, who cares about money? Like, this is the truth. Money is just, we keep score and keep track, but you start, when you get and do whatever you're going to do, when you're passionate about it, you will make money, and you'll make more money than you know what to do with. And once you get past that, then money is not even the thing that even drives you, right? It's the farthest thing from the driving, right? It's really about significance, or who am I going? It's really about who are you going to impact, Dean? And the first thing you need to impact is your family.
Yeah.
That's just my thoughts on it, though.
So I love that. Focusing on being a full-time dad, making your schedule work for
mom.
you.
Yeah.
Or mom.
Yeah.
Right. That's what most of us are wanting, but the reality of it happening is a whole nother thing. So,
can we talk private money too today?
Oh, we're talking. That's exactly where we're going next.
Yeah.
So this is going to be, without question, some nuggets for people. And I want you to go right into like your favorite things about it. And the fact that you've raised $95 million in private money, and what you emphasize is this is cheap money, and it's not from, big corporations or anything like that, or big equity firms. Like, this is from the mom and
private
pops.
Equity. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then there's a difference, by the way, guys. So think about this. Think about the Godfather, right? The Godfather. So he who has the money makes the what? Rules, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe big money, private equity, big check writers, that's their philosophy, and that's how they think, right? They'll come in and say, oh yeah, I would love to do your deals, but yada, yada, I want this, and you can't do any more of this. You can't make any more than this. And so in my world, in syndication, I see a lot of people that are doing, $100 million deals, or, $50 million deals, and they're raising $20 million of equity, but it's private equity, and they're getting a sliver of ownership of doing all the work.
Yeah.
Now, I hate that philosophy. I'm more about and this is off, I can't even say this. This is a bad one. Colors. This is when we reference colors. There's a bull on top of the hill with his son, and they're looking at the cattle, and the little son is like, hey, dad, let's go run down there and let's go get, have her get the cow. And the big, Papa Bull's like, no, son, let's walk down there and get them all. And my thought is, when you raise money, take your time and develop a strategy and do it right, because you can get a lot of money. You don't have to get that one little piece and be like, oh my God, there's money. You take your time with it, and this is a snowball effect. So the first thing about raising private money, especially when you're new, never ask people for money. It's really weird, but if you don't have a whole lot of credibility when you're first starting out, you're going to ask them, who do they know? right? And usually it goes like this. Hey, I have this deal and I really value your opinion, Dean. And I would love for you to look at it really hard and critique it for me, because I think you're the kind of person that can give me some referrals. And if you don't understand it, no one of your friends are going to. So would you mind taking a peek at my little thing, my deal? And now what I just do, I just gave you, you're now starting to critically look at my deal. And this is what I've learned. The right people will always self-select. Just like Carl did. Like, I just put it out there in the world. Carl's like, well, Corey, yeah, I think I'm interested, right? Yeah. And I find that happens more often than not. And then, now let me give you the psychology, go back to it a little bit, because I used to be a financial advisor as well. That's kind of where I learned how to raise money and how to get, where I kind of come up with some of these concepts, is that if you ask a stockbroker right now, what is a solid return that you can expect in the marketplace right now? What is that percentage? Most people will tell you, what do you think it is, Dean?
You tell me.
I'm going to say 6 to 8, right? Most financial advisors are going to say 6 to 8 is the number, right? In fact, that's what we're trained to say, almost, really, because we know that we could probably predictably hit that number. And that's good. But here's what happens. And you go into the private equity in the space where I'm raising capital, and that smart money is like, no, 6 to 8. That's not how we play. We want 20. We want 85% of your deal, and we'll let you make a little sliver. And so I said to myself, there's got to be, how do I go to, Wall Street, which is really the people that have IRAs, those IRA investors. And that's my target market, by the way, is people that have IRAs. They want to do real estate. They just don't even know they can in their real estate. And the 6 to 8 is what they're getting from their stockbroker. So if I give them anything from 12 to 18, they're in heaven.
Yeah.
And so I don't even pitch it as 12 or 18. I call it 6 and 6 or 6 and 10. And what it is we give a 6% pref or preferred rate of return that goes on. For us, when we do deals, we make quarterly payments, right? And then at the end, we'll pay an additional 6% annualized for every year they're in a deal. So the best way to describe this, guys, if you give someone, like, give us $100,000, you're going to make $6,000 a year or $1,500 a quarter. Now, the reason that 6% is, that's very comfortable for people that are closer to retirement. They want something safe, and what they really want is an income stream, right? They want predictable income, because they can't get that in the stock market very, very well, right? If you think about anything that stocks, bonds, or mutual funds, that's the roller coaster, except maybe for bonds. Bonds would be safe. We call bonds safe. But what's the yield on bonds? 3%, 2%, 2.5%. Yeah. Crap, right? So 6% yield is really good. So they like that. And they don't consider that risk, because once you get to 12% in the financial advisor's world, that's considered risky, right? And 18% is like ludicrous speed, right? Yeah. Like Spaceballs. You're like, no. We're going to get in a wreck at 18, right? So you don't even say the word 18. So it's 6 and 6, right? And then I add the two together, it's 12.
That's hilarious.
Right. This is how I talk capital, by the way, right? People are like, oh, what's your IRR? I don't even know what the IRR is. I can do the calculations. I have a calculator that does it, but no one understands that crap. At least my investors don't, and I sure as hell don't really either. So I'd rather, let me just talk about money and the money you're going to get. People understand that really well. And so understanding your avatar, which is, I think, small business owners, and I say small business owners that only have 25 plus employees. That's a really great target, and that's a great list to get in a local market, because they've got a solidified business and they're busy. And they probably have a stockbroker that gives them, whatever information, but they all know they should do real estate, but they don't have the time. And so those are great people that I want to get to know and develop a relationship with, because I know that and they'll have money time and time again. They'll be like an everlasting gobstopper, because they're like, yeah, I want 100 grand per deal, every deal. Yep, I'm in for 100. I'm in for 100. And so that really is the epitome of what we've done. Is you have this kind of like little triangle called know, like, and trust, right? And first you got to get people to know you. And then you start using, marketing and all the things that we do to get them to like us. And when they like us enough, they'll trust us with their money, and then they send it. And then here's the great thing is once they trust you and they understand you, then you teach them how to give you referrals. And referrals is a direct link. They don't have to go around the whole circle. They just go straight from, know to trust immediately because it's a referral. And that's the avalanche, right? That's how you get an avalanche of capital coming to you. Once you do right by people, you don't have to sell as much. You have your people go out. In other words, the best thing is when you do a deal with a group of people like that, you would take one or two of them to dinner, and then you have them invite all their friends, and you shut up and you just pay the bill. They'll do all the talking for you.
Hilarious. So you said something there that caught my attention, and I think would be insanely valuable for the listeners. So the way that you communicate the capital in simple terms, I think is huge. I think you're completely right that there's too many people that try to be too sophisticated and start throwing around these spreadsheets and all these different things and all these big packages with too much information. That can be a little overwhelming and intimidating at the same time. But putting it simple is one of the key ways to have those breakthroughs. Now, the one thing I wanted to highlight, you said getting in front of small business owners that have 25 plus employees. How do you get in front of these people?
Hey, when you pull lists, first thing is pull lists, right? You can buy a list like that. It's not a hard list to find. Just name a list broker out there. You can find one and pull that kind of data, right? And then, so we do it a couple different ways. One is through marketing, right? So we'll get that list. We'll find, we'll Facebook stock. So we have some VAs that work for us that will help Facebook stock and try to find their emails. It's not that hard to find emails too. Usually if they have a business page, you're going to find who someone is that's the right person, right? And then you got to have a warm-up sequence. So we do it from that perspective. And then we also, in our local market, we actually have a person that's on staff that's their job. Their job is to go promote our company and to get involved in chambers. Now, here's some honey holes. Now, this is what I learned being a financial advisor. You think about, where do financial advisors hang out? All you do is, again, copy what financial advisors do. That's all I've done, by the way. I'm not that smart, but I told you I'm a great copier. So, what do they do? They're on boards, charities. So if there's a charity that you really like, get involved in that charity and then get on that board. And don't just be the person that be the guy that sets up and gets to know be that resource, because business owners show up to these charity events and you'll start getting a network of really wealthy people really quick, by the way, right? Now, that's the end result. So don't do it just because to raise money. Do it because it's a charity you love. So I'm part of this group called Chandler Compadres here in Chandler, Arizona. And I'm telling you this, it's the who of Chandler. We've got, the Earnhardts, which owns all the Earnhardt Chevrolets, all the dealership platforms. I mean, it's just it's the top of the echelon, and you got to be kind of invited. But I got to know some stuff. But the reason I got invited to even be part of that club is I love what they did, right? So I was donating money to be just because it's for Boys and Girls Club in our local community, and I love what they stood for. So I got involved in the charity before I even got into the group. I was just a guy that was there because of what they did. And then I asked the right questions. Well, how do I get involved? I want to be involved in more. So that's that's one of my favorite ways to really get connected, because it takes one or two of those right connections that leads to another avalanche. And so that's what I think I've been really successful at, is finding the right peoples and doing it because it's the right thing to do. And then business just happens because. And that's a real secret too. So there's a lot of groups. You can start even with your local chamber, right? Understand when you started the chamber, it's closer to the bottom. But then you start working. There's always 2 or 3 really good companies that come into the chamber, and you ask them, what groups are they in? Right? Now, the worst place to get money and to go look for money is in a real estate conference. Just FYI, do not go to multifamily events to raise capital. Now, you can do it, okay? You'll do it, but it will come at a cost, right? Meaning it's always, because us real estate people, we're kind of smart. So we're like, well, yeah, that's great, but what cut do I get? I want an ownership percentage. If I introduce you to these, I want, right? So that's how it works, right? And you can do a deal that way. And by all means, if that's the way you first start, more power to you. But I would challenge you to, on the side, you start go to, like, if you've got a dentist, they have dentist conventions. They have chiropractor conventions. Wouldn't you want to be a guest at that? Like, ask your dentist, can I come? When's your next big conference? Can I come as your guest? Get them to invest with you first, and then let them take you as your guest. And then you've got a coveted audience where you're the only cat, and they all want what you got.
Yeah. Those are some major nuggets right there. And I think that's good for people to hear it from the big kahuna, because, man, if you think about it, a lot of us are thinking, where am I going to find money? It's at a real estate conference. That's where real estate people are. People looking to invest, people looking to this, that, and the other. But you're right that if I have access to money, it's then, okay, I could bring these guys in, but what cut do I get of it?
That's red waters, man. That's shark infested waters, dude. They will cut you up, bro. Right? You do not want to go there. Trust me. Hey, but you can go there, just don't stay there. Right? Yeah, charter another boat to a different ocean, my friend, and find where there's some big bait and the right fish that love your stuff, that have no clue about real estate. Most of my investors, they don't even know, man. They don't even want to know. All they know is they love the checks, right? And they like the back end, and they like the communication, right? And they're like, this is awesome. And that's what you want. You want a bunch. I call it dumb money. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but like, I like smart people with dumb money, right? In other words, they're not that sophisticated. They don't want to be sophisticated. They're running their businesses. That's what they do full time, and they just want to do something. They want the benefits of real estate, but they don't want tenants and toilets. Most people think that people like us are all the same. When you're listening, you guys probably listen to this podcast. If you're in real estate, we go to these same places. We think everybody's like us. No, it's not. Most people are not like us. They're more like the other people. And so when you start really understanding that, and then start networking in those different groups, you'll be amazed. What you'll see is that it's a whole new world out there. Yeah.
And I think a good point that you made is that most people don't know anything about real estate, but they're fascinated by it. They want to be involved. They want to be a part of it. And they don't want to
talking taxes in the,
Yeah.
Do you like paying taxes? No, because that's what a lot of business owners do, because they don't have the thing that we have in real estate.
Yep.
And then you start educating them. Hey, does your wife work? No. Tell her to go get her real estate license. Right? Now you can take your investment and really use it. You just teach them. You show them little ways to play the game, so they can get that bonus depreciation and use it. And that really starts to become very powerful. And they start telling their buddies. And again, this is all about the referral. I don't know if you can hear this. It's a repetitive process that I'm using. And there's another thing too. Whenever you make a distribution, call everybody. Hey man, hey John, just checking on you. Get your check. Who do you know? Here's another one. Dean, who do you know that I should know?
Yeah.
And shut up. Ask that question, shut up. And wait for them to say something. Great. And once they say, oh, I know John, or sometimes you actually get a qualifier, because who do you know is too many people. Who do you know that works with you that I should know? Or who do you know that's a business owner just like you that I should know? Because then you can start seeing, they can see the people, and then shut up, let them select that person and get, great. what's the best way for you to make a quality introduction for me? Quality introduction.
Call to action right there.
Right?
Yep.
I've done it for a while.
That call to action and being specific is so important, right?
Yeah. But it really leads to gold, man. And then it's just mining for gold. And so it's a crazy ride, man. Raising capital. And listen, people understand that we've just went through a crazy market cycle, right? Where interest rates have doubled, almost more than that.
Literally,
right?
yeah.
And so is all my properties perfect right now? Nope, they're not, right? Do all my investors pretty much understand? Some of them we're not making payments on. A lot of them we are, but some of them are not, right? We went through COVID. I have student housing properties, right? I mean, I have 70% of my portfolio is student housing. So when COVID happened and no one showed up to school, to college, some of our properties went like 40% or from 100% occupancy to 65.
Wow.
Now that's usually a death sentence, by the way, but we managed to manage them. We had to suspend payments, and now we're back to healthy, right? And but people understand it because with the real estate, at least the way you have so much more control, and you can communicate so much better. And at the end result is it's a long-term investment. It's not just something for the short term. This is why you buy cash flow, because cash flow, if you hold something long enough, it will set you free.
100%. So how do you identify which property that you're going to go after? Is it strictly on the cash flow from day one? Is it all about what's the big number that it's going to be worth at the end of the day for that big equity exit? How do you determine which deal you're going to go after?
First step is markets, right? So we look at markets first, right? We just identify the market that we want to be in. Does it make sense? Is there enough people coming in? Look for trends of who's moving in, who's moving out. We want it to a growing economy and one that's leaving. And then second, we start looking at the actual individual deal. And sometimes you have to really do a little crystal ball. Now we like cash flow. Dean, I try to buy, like, I may not cash flow in year one if I'm doing some lift, but I tend to want to buy 85%, 90% occupancy, 95% occupancy. But I want opportunities that if I do rehab, I call it micro repositioning, that I can raise and lift my rents, and create more value by doing that. Now, I don't like really super vacant properties. I don't like really old properties. I don't like when I first started, I'd buy like 1970s product. Now I don't try to do that as much because it's a lot of pain in the butt. There's a lot of craps that happen in old properties. They break. So, but it was a function of being able to raise capital. So as I started to raise more capital, our last project we bought was a $40 million project, and it's beautiful. 2008 built, right? $15 million raise. And so, but those properties are prettier. And when they have pretty pictures, they have amenities and all that stuff. It's actually easier to get investors' capital too for those projects because they like that. They can see themselves living there. The 70s product, that older crapper, it will actually make money. But it just comes for a lot of work. And right now, with the way the economy is, it actually makes more sense to buy a way nicer property because of the cap rate compression. You're buying an old crapper of the same cap rate that you can buy a newer property at. So why even buy the old crapper?
Yeah.
I know that wasn't exactly the right answer, but
no. That's perfect. What are some of the markets that you're looking at? Are they the more metro markets? Are they the emerging markets?
Yeah. So we both, but like San Antonio is a good market for us. We like San Antonio. We like Rapid City in South Dakota. That's close to Sturgis, by the way. That's a sneaky market. Now, we just identified that one just because we go there every year for Sturgis, riding my motorcycle. And I was like, dude, they keep on building apartments. Like, there's a lot of job growth here. And so you find those little things like that. You're like, oh, wow. But, in the student world, which we've bought heavily in, you're looking for the size of school and you're looking for the historical of the school, right? So, but we're in Oklahoma that's a real steady, there's no highs or lows there. It's just kind of like steady as you go. And sometimes those steady, boring properties are great. But I also bought a property in Yuma, Arizona. We bought that property for $9 million, held it for 3 years. It cash flowed after year 2, right? Like at the end of year 2, we had to fix some things with that on that one. But then it started cash flowing, and then we sold it for $19 million. Wow. We made $10 million profit in 3 years.
I like the sound of that.
I mean, it was a beautiful day, dude. It was a beautiful day. When we sold that, we're like, oh, hell yeah. And now we got a little bit of market help. So we sold it, last year and a half ago, right? So at the perfect timing of all of it before the interest rates started jacking up. And, but you just never know. And so my goal is to buy healthy deals that we believe in and that we understand the story and understand the lift, or what can we do to fix this property? Can we make it look like something down the road that we have a good viable comp? And if you do that, and it's kind of like the single family, you got to buy based on numbers. And that's what I love about the commercial real estate is you never fall in love with the property, you just fall in love with the numbers. And once you understand the numbers and your expertise on executing the business plan, that's where the money's made.
Amen. Well, dude, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Again, it was like absolute pleasure to meet you just recently. Let's talk about the free book giveaway. So talk about your book again.
Yeah, it's called Copy Your Way to Success, Standing on the Shoulders of Giants. Great book. It's just really a little bit about my hero story and all the things that I've learned along the way and a lot of the mistakes that I've learned along the way. So what do you learn more from your success or your failure? I will tell you that it's probably your failures that you'll learn the biggest lessons from. So this book is filled with failures and how I overcame them and how I used copying others to get better at the craft, right? And so you can get that book by texting the word book to 480-500-1127.
Yeah, so that's, again, texting the book to 480-500-1127. Again, you guys can find Corey at Kahuna Cashflow on social media. Corey, it's been so much fun to have you on, man. Look forward to continue staying in touch with you and building the relationship, man. So appreciate you being on. Until next time, guys. Peace.